Real offered Ramos' successor Valencia to cash in on Torres. It's been a busy weekend for Bayern Munich. Bale takes on Dybala and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First off, and apparently Real Madrid have been offered their Sergio Ramos successor. That's if they even want to succeed him within the next few years. The Spaniard is 34 years old, but has shown no signs of slowing down and is still leading the team perfectly. But when and if he retires, apparently Matthias Ligt could fill that void. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's only just joined Juventus from Ajax last summer in a deal around 80 million euros. But let's not forget that his agent is Mino Raiola, which basically means that any transfer is possible at any time. Apparently, Raiola's already touting around his centre-back wonder kid to Real Madrid because, well, things haven't got so well at Juventus at the moment. Now, when he joined the Italian club, there was a release clause in his contract that only comes into effect after 3 years. So any team that does want to buy him out of the contract and make an enormous bid to Juventus, well, it's going to have to be exactly that, a pretty big bid. He hasn't had the greatest of seasons, but he is still young, only 20 years old, and there's loads of room for him to grow. The question is he going to learn better at Juventus in Serie A under the likes of Giorgio Chiellini and Leonardo Bonucci, or would he learn better at Real Madrid in La Liga, learning from Sergio Ramos, one of the best ever? It's a pretty tough decision to make because basically he's going to improve in either league. As for Mino Raiola, well, it means there'll be another fat paycheck for him and another huge move to cement himself as like the best agent ever. Pretty much, if you want to have a big deal, you got to go through him. But next up, and apparently Juventus are willing to offload a few players to bring in Valencia's Ferran Torres. Now, if you haven't heard of him, he's the right winger of Valencia who's been really outstanding this season for the Spanish club. He's got 13 goal contributions in 35 appearances, as well as scoring his first goal in the Champions League and making his first steps in the Champions League as well. In fact, he's been doing so well that there are a whole host of clubs across Europe who are all interested in him, but none more apparently than Juventus. Not only are they willing to spend big money on the 20-year-old, but they're also ready to get rid of the likes of Bernardeschi and Douglas Costa, who just haven't really excelled at the club. It's no secret that Juve are brilliant in the attacking areas with Cristiano Ronaldo, Paulo Dybala, Gonzalo Higuain as well, but they really need some quality out wide to provide that, and Lord knows that Cuadrado isn't really doing it either. So they're going to move for Torres, who unfortunately for Valencia only has around 16 months remaining on his current contract. Because it runs out next summer, it's highly unlikely that any team is going to pay the €100 million release clause, so they're looking for around 50 to 55 million for the Spaniard. If it's not Juventus who are going to get his signature, then apparently second in the running is Borussia Dortmund. Now, we've spoken about them so much in the last few weeks because it looks like there could be more going on the outside of things rather than on the in. And if Jadon Sancho, the much talked about man, does leave Borussia Dortmund, apparently Torres could be the answer and the replacement. Certainly, he'd be a lot cheaper than any club is going to pay for Sancho, meaning they'd have a nice bit of money spare as well. But moving on and to Bayern Munich, who have had a rather busy weekend. First off, they signed up coach Hansi Flick from just being an interim manager into a contract until 2023, and this then has an effect on all the transfer targets they'll be chasing. Apparently one of them is Adama Traore from Wolves, although according to various reports, Wolves want around 100 million for the winger. That I cannot see happening, so I also can't see him moving to Bayern Munich, Man City, or really moving anywhere for that kind of money. But what it also does mean is that interest is potentially cooled in Leroy Sané, and Timo Werner may be moving to the club. Now, it's clear from recent interviews and from everything that Hansi Flick has said in the last few months, he's a massive fan of Timo Werner, whereas the club, Bayern Munich, were big fans of Leroy Sané. If they're willing to give the coach a new 3.5-year deal, they're probably willing to back him in the transfer market. And if they are, Timo Werner is more than likely to join Bayern Munich than anywhere else. Along with this, so it's also been busy because some of their players are back to training. Despite the fact that the coronavirus is still well and truly devastating most of the world, small groups of Bayern players have been allowed to return to the training facilities to take part in some training. Now, whether or not Bayern Munich are doing this just to keep up their fitness or they've got one eye on a potential return to the Bundesliga, we're not quite sure. Games have been suspended indefinitely and there's no way that anything's going to return before the end of April. But are the Bundesliga maybe planning for a May return? If they are, it'll pretty much go against every other league, what they've been saying. The Premier League has also been suspended indefinitely with no return. La Liga are apparently looking at a June return, playing all the way through to August. And in the case of Italy, well, the Italian FA has said they expect Serie A to be going on in September and October. Of course, alongside this, the UEFA president has said that although it looks like Champions League and Europa League football could well be scrapped for the 2019-20 season, if they are going to have a final and maybe at the end of August. But next up, into something that's going to keep you entertained during these isolation times, and that is a good old-fashioned FIFA tournament. Both Paulo Dybala and Gareth Bale faced off against each other in a match for charity in the Combat Corona initiative. Now, it was a competitive match, of course, because both are professional athletes and they don't like to lose, but it was good to see Bale focusing on football rather than the golf course. In fact, he did take the lead playing as Manchester City, but Paulo Dybala playing as Real Madrid managed to get things back to 1-1 before going on to win 3-1. Here are a couple of quick highlights.
A lot of people in the chat telling you, oh no. Oh, it's on fire now.
The floodgates have opened.
Fair play. Good goal.
Elsewhere in the FIFA tournament were the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Luke Shaw and Mason Mount, who all played off against each other and a few of their other fellow pros in a night which managed to raise around £18,000. So good on them. So lastly but not least, a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news, where Leicester, West Ham, Crystal Palace and Spurs are all interested in Rangers' Alfredo Morelos. Apparently their other forward, Yanis Hadji, is also interested in Manchester City. West Ham have had initial contact with the agent of Chilean forward Alexis Sanchez, looking for a permanent deal once he returns on loan from Inter Milan. And lastly but not least, Napoli are the front runners to sign Barcelona's fullback Junior Firpo. So there you have it. There's all of today's daily news. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Smash the like button whilst you're there. And you can also click here or here to check out loads of the other content we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.